Have you ever noticed something strange? The moment you become useful, your phone starts ringing. The moment you become successful, people suddenly remember your name. The moment you stop giving, stop agreeing, or stop making life easier for everyone around you. Silence. Most people experience this and immediately conclude that humanity is cruel. But that's the wrong conclusion. The truth is far more uncomfortable. People are not loyal to you. People naturally like to believe that loyalty is a fixed quality, something a person either possesses or lacks. We grow up hearing stories about lifelong friendships, unbreakable bonds, and people who stand beside each other no matter what happens. These stories are comforting because they promise certainty in an uncertain world. But when you begin observing people without emotional assumptions, a different pattern starts to emerge. Most individuals are not loyal to another person in the way they imagine. They are loyal to whatever currently fulfills their needs, solves their problems, supports their identity, or makes their life easier. The relationship feels permanent only as long as those needs remain aligned. The moment those priorities change, the relationship often changes with them. This isn't necessarily a sign of deception or cruelty. It is a reflection of how human motivation works. Every decision people make is influenced by what they value at that moment. Sometimes they seek security, sometimes status, sometimes comfort, sometimes excitement, and sometimes simple convenience. If you happen to provide those things, you become important in their lives. They answer your calls, make time for you, defend you in conversations, and appear deeply committed. It is easy to mistake this consistent attention for unwavering loyalty. Yet what they are protecting may not be you at all. They are protecting the benefits they receive through their connection with you. Imagine someone who always wants your advice because you solve their problems. They praise your wisdom, tell others how reliable you are, and make you feel indispensable. But as soon as they find another source of guidance or become confident enough to make decisions alone, the frequency of those conversations begins to fade. Nothing dramatic happened. They simply no longer needed the same thing from you. The emotional attachment weakens because the practical value of the relationship has changed. Many people experience this and call it betrayal, when in reality, they misunderstood the foundation on which the relationship was built. The same pattern appears in workplaces, schools, families, and even close social circles. During shared goals and mutual interests, people feel connected. They laugh together, support one another, and spend countless hours side by side. Then life shifts. A promotion changes priorities. A new relationship demands attention. A move to another city creates distance, or different ambitions pull people in opposite directions. Suddenly, the loyalty that once seemed unquestionable begins to disappear. What actually disappeared was the alignment of interests that kept the connection strong. Human beings are constantly evaluating where to invest their time, attention, and emotional energy. Most do this unconsciously. They rarely wake up deciding to abandon someone. Instead, they respond to changing circumstances and follow the path that feels most rewarding or necessary. Understanding this allows you to stop interpreting every change as a personal attack and start recognizing the invisible forces that quietly shape human behavior. One of the greatest sources of emotional pain is not what people do to us, but what we expected them to do instead. Expectations are invisible agreements that often exist only in our own minds. We assume that because we were loyal, others will respond with the same level of commitment. We believe that because we listened, supported, sacrificed, and remained available, those actions have created an unspoken obligation. The problem is that most people never accepted that agreement. They operate according to their own priorities, emotions, and circumstances, not according to the expectations we silently created. When reality collides with those expectations, disappointment feels like betrayal, even when the other person simply acted according to their own interests. This is why two people can experience the exact same event in completely different ways. One person believes a friendship has been broken because a phone call was ignored or a promise was forgotten. The other person sees nothing unusual because their attention was focused elsewhere. Neither perspective is necessarily dishonest. The difference lies in the expectations each person carried into the relationship. The one who expected consistency feels abandoned, while the one who expected flexibility sees no conflict at all. Expectations shape perception long before actions are interpreted. Many people unknowingly create unrealistic standards for others. They imagine that a true friend should always make time, always understand, always defend them, and always remain emotionally available regardless of changing circumstances. While those qualities sound admirable, they ignore a basic fact about human nature. Everyone is fighting their own battles, chasing their own goals, and managing their own fears. Even people with good intentions will sometimes disappoint you because their lives do not revolve around yours. Expecting otherwise creates a constant cycle of frustration that slowly turns appreciation into resentment. There is also a hidden danger in expecting people to think exactly as you do. You judge loyalty based on your own values and assume others define it the same way. If you would never cancel plans at the last minute, you expect the same consideration. If you would defend a friend during criticism, you expect others to react identically. But every person has a different definition of responsibility, commitment, and friendship. Measuring everyone by your personal standards almost guarantees disappointment because human beings are shaped by different experiences, beliefs, and priorities. Emotional freedom begins when you stop demanding certainty from people whose circumstances can change at any moment. Instead of assuming loyalty is guaranteed, you begin to see trust as something that must be earned continuously through consistent actions over time. This shift changes the way you respond to disappointment. Rather than feeling shocked every time someone falls short of your expectations, you become a careful observer of patterns, recognizing that actions reveal far more about a relationship than the promises you hoped would be kept. Words are incredibly easy to produce. They cost almost nothing, require very little effort, and can create a powerful emotional response in the person hearing them. That is why so many people place too much trust in promises, compliments, and declarations of loyalty. Someone can tell you that they will always be there, that they value your friendship more than anything, or that you can count on them no matter what happens. In the moment, those statements feel reassuring. They satisfy your need for certainty and connection. But words reveal intention at best, while actions reveal commitment. The difference between the two is often the difference between illusion and reality. Human beings naturally want to present themselves in the best possible light. Most people genuinely believe the positive things they say when they say them. A friend may sincerely promise to support you because they imagine themselves as a loyal person. Yet when real pressure arrives, their behavior may tell a completely different story. The challenge is that situations change faster than self-image. People like believing they are dependable, but circumstances often expose priorities they never expected to have. This is why listening only to someone's promises can lead to disappointment. Promises describe who people hope they are, Actions reveal who they become when choices have consequences. Pay close attention to consistency instead of intensity. Some individuals overwhelm you with enthusiasm in the beginning of a relationship. They constantly text, praise you, make exciting plans, and speak about the future as if your connection is unbreakable. It feels genuine because the emotional energy is so strong. But intensity can fade just as quickly as it appears. Consistency is much harder to fake. It is found in the small behaviors repeated over weeks, months, and years. It is the friend who keeps showing up without needing recognition, the person who respects your boundaries without being reminded, and the individual whose behavior remains steady even when there is nothing to gain. Stressful situations are especially revealing because they remove the comfort of easy decisions. Anyone can appear loyal when everything is going well, but conflict, pressure, competition, and personal sacrifice expose true priorities. Notice who disappears when supporting you becomes inconvenient. Notice who changes their behavior depending on who is watching. Notice who speaks positively about you in private but remains silent when your reputation is challenged in public. These moments carry far more information than countless conversations about trust or loyalty. Learning to observe behavior without immediately accepting every reassuring word gives you a clearer understanding of the people around you. Instead of becoming emotionally attached to what someone says they will do, you begin evaluating what they repeatedly choose to do, recognizing that patterns are far more reliable than promises, and that character is measured through consistent decisions rather than persuasive language. One of the most powerful shifts a person can make is moving from emotional dependence to emotional independence. Most people spend years searching for security in other people. They look for someone whose loyalty will never change, whose approval will never disappear, and whose presence will always provide comfort. At first, this seems like a reasonable goal. After all, human beings are social creatures, and connection is an important part of life. The problem begins when your emotional stability depends entirely on someone else's choices. The moment another person becomes responsible for your peace of mind, you surrender control over your own emotions. Emotional independence does not mean becoming cold, distant, or incapable of caring about others. It means refusing to let your happiness rise and fall based on another person's attention, validation, or commitment. You can appreciate friendships without depending on them for your sense of worth. You can value relationships while accepting that people are free to change. This mindset removes the constant fear of abandonment because your confidence no longer relies on whether someone stays or leaves. Instead of desperately trying to hold people close, you become comfortable allowing relationships to evolve naturally. Many people unknowingly give away their emotional power by making someone else the center of their identity. They begin adjusting their opinions to avoid conflict, sacrificing personal goals to gain approval, and tolerating disrespect because they fear losing the relationship. Over time, they stop making decisions that serve their own growth and start making decisions designed to keep someone else happy. Ironically, this often weakens the relationship they are trying so hard to protect. People tend to respect those who have a clear sense of self more than those who constantly seek reassurance. Developing emotional independence requires learning to separate your value from other people's reactions. Someone ignoring your message does not reduce your worth. A friendship fading over time does not erase your strengths. Criticism from another person does not automatically define your character. These events may influence your circumstances, but they do not determine who you are. When you understand this distinction, you become much harder to manipulate because praise no longer controls you and rejection no longer destroys your confidence. An emotionally independent person approaches relationships with openness instead of desperation. They enjoy companionship, but they do not cling to it. They appreciate loyalty when it is shown, but they do not demand guarantees that no one can honestly make. Their confidence comes from their own values, discipline, and self-respect rather than from constant external confirmation. Because they are not afraid of being alone, they make clearer decisions about who deserves a place in their lives, recognizing that genuine connection grows from mutual respect rather than emotional dependence or fear of losing someone. After enough disappointments, many people come to one of two conclusions. They either decide that no one can ever be trusted, or they continue searching endlessly for the perfect friend who will never let them down. Both paths lead to frustration because they place the focus on everyone except the one person who remains present throughout every stage of life. The strongest foundation you can build is becoming your own most dependable ally. This does not mean rejecting friendships or isolating yourself from the world. It means creating a life where your confidence, direction, and emotional stability begin with you rather than depending entirely on the actions of others. Being your own strongest ally starts with keeping promises to yourself. Every time you commit to improving your health, learning a new skill, finishing a project, or standing by your values, you strengthen your trust in yourself. Many people seek loyalty from others while repeatedly breaking their own commitments. They promise themselves they will change, but they give up at the first sign of discomfort. They expect consistency from friends while allowing inconsistency to define their own habits. Real confidence is built when your actions prove that your word to yourself carries weight. Another part of becoming your own ally is learning to make decisions without constantly seeking approval. There will always be people who disagree with your choices, misunderstand your intentions, or question your direction. If every decision depends on receiving permission from others, your life will always be controlled by opinions that change from person to person. The ability to listen to advice while still trusting your own judgment creates a level of independence that cannot easily be shaken. It allows you to move forward even when others doubt you or choose different paths. This mindset also changes the way you experience loneliness. Instead of seeing time alone as evidence that something is missing, you begin to recognize it as an opportunity to strengthen your mind, clarify your goals, and develop the habits that shape your future. Solitude becomes a place of growth rather than a punishment. The relationship you build with yourself determines how you experience every other relationship in your life. When you enjoy your own company, you stop accepting unhealthy connections simply to avoid being alone. Ironically, people often become more attractive, respected, and valued when they stop relying on others for emotional survival. Confidence that comes from within creates a quiet strength that does not need constant recognition. You become less reactive, more patient, and more selective about who earns your trust. Friendships become choices rather than necessities, and loyalty becomes something you appreciate instead of something you desperately chase. The greatest form of loyalty is not the loyalty you hope to receive from someone else. It is the loyalty you show yourself every single day through your decisions, your discipline, and your refusal to abandon your own values. People may come and go, circumstances will continue to change, and relationships will evolve in ways you cannot control. But if you become the one person you can always rely on, you will never be left emotionally empty. The day you stop expecting someone else to complete your life is the day you truly begin to take ownership of it. And that is where lasting strength, genuine freedom, and unshakable peace begin.